And it's so much gets going around elections, and it's really, really very sad. But here you are, living in a fractured world. And if you're here, you are part of the healing force. Now, in the US, if someone doesn't like you, they can go on social media and say all kinds of bad things about you. The big thing today is to call someone a pedophile. And to the people that do this, there's a huge segment of people in what's called QAnon who are sort of a vigilante group. If they hear that someone is a pedophile, especially if they're a prominent person, they go after them with the idea of actually killing them. Now, not everyone who follows QAnon does that. I'm not saying that. There are some who kind of hang out for an interest factor or entertainment factor, but it's really very tricky and very serious. And so because someone, let's say you are targeted, and all of this false information is put on these various sites. You know, there are sites where you can go on to find out about people. You pay a fee, and they give you whether their history, whether it's they've had what their driving record looks like, if they've been to prison or not, all of this stuff. Plus, sometimes a lot of things that aren't true. And even if it isn't true, if it's sensational, it likely will be posted on some of these sites because they don't check. They just let it because it's sensational, and that brings more people to their site. But if that's you, and you contact the site and you say, well, you know, this is fraudulent, none of this is true. How do I get these things cleaned up? Well, it will cost you thousands of dollars. It's another form of extortion, because the more extreme the things are that are said about you, the more people come to their site. It's all very crazy, and it doesn't look very new agey. It looks pretty old. In fact, it has maybe taken some of the old power over dynamics to a new level, causing so much suffering, creating lie after lie after lie. And as I said, in the US, there's always been a lot of leniency with what is called free speech. But there's something funny about the whole thing, because you see, I may say I have the right to say anything, even if it's something harmful to you. But do I really? I have the right to swing my fist, or at least I did when I was in physical form. But that right stops where your face begins. And if I hit you in the face, that's punishable, because my right to swing my fist does not go that far. These are just common sense understandings. There may be some laws passed that should have been passed, of course, because it is so common sense. But that kind of common sense has never been brought to this area of what is really free speech and what is slander, what is out and out falsehood. Freedom does not extend that far. But here in the US, there just are no laws to really prevent that as yet. Perhaps there will be some, but they're not there yet. Or at least the ones that are there are not adequately enforced against such things. And it's very difficult to go after anything from a legal standpoint if it's on the web. So these are the kinds of things that are framing the world in which you live. Now, all of the divisiveness, all of the intentions to shatter, to break apart, to hurt, these are all going on in the collective mind. That doesn't mean that's all that's going on there, but it is just mind. Now, it's very powerful because people are influenced by it, and then some want to hurt others, or some want to slander others, and on and on and on. And what you're seeing really is the rubble of the Piscean Age, or the crumbling of the Piscean Age. The institutions have or are coming down, and they are leaving a kind of rubble. And that rubble is what is now arising and being used to divide, to hurt, and to cause pain, even in some cases to create lynching mobs, as was just recently seen in the US Capitol. So these are trying times. Sometimes when you just look at your own minds, you'll find the remnants of some of this crazy energy in your own mind. You find certain things playing out in your own life. Maybe you go along with something and then, you go home later and you're away from, maybe it was something online, maybe it was something on the phone. Mostly it's online or social media now. And you'll wonder, why did I do that? Why did I participate in that? Why am I curious to see all the bad things about, let's say, people in prominence or other people as well, people who are targeted by those who wish to do them ill? Why am I curious about that? Now, I do know there are people who say, well, I have to know the truth. And so they accept things without really having any way to check them out. Not really knowing that the people sometimes about whom they are said are utterly innocent and who cannot afford the money to pull the information from the web. That's the time you're living in, when, frankly, most people don't know what is true or what is not true. And I think it is one of the things about social media that is really interesting is how people have come to just accept whatever they read there is true. And some of it is quite crazy. I assure you, all the Democrats in the legislature are not pedophiles. It's crazy. And it's the product of this kind of conspiratorial thinking. And it's really divisive. We are not pedophiles, although that's not always true. They are. Why? Because I say so. I don't have to prove it. There doesn't have to be any laws broken or people caught or anything. I just say it. And look how many people believe me. Because one of Hitler's mottos was, when you tell a lie, tell a big lie. Tell it over and over and over, and the people will believe you. Actually, it was one of the men who was close to him that gave him that line, but it became his motto, his MO, modus operandi. It became the way he did what he did. And so this is not a new phenomenon on the earth plane. But you see, the world has become a global village in so many ways. And so when one country falls, there is an impact on others. When something goes wrong with the economy, really wrong with the economy, even if it's a smaller nation, today there is some impact to everyone. And now there is so much building of the energy of divisiveness. There was a time when China and the US kind of had a working relationship. This is not to say they trusted each other. I'm talking about the governments, of course, the leaders. It's not to say that they believed what they heard from each other. It is to say they treated each other with respect. And they recognized that cultural differences exist. Now, these cultural differences are seen as threats. In some ways, they're seen as the source for targeting and objectifying one's hatred. But all of you know that the person who feels hatred is suffering. It is not comfortable to walk around being suspicious of everybody and hating everybody and calling people names and making false charges against them. That is not the good life. It may have some apparent patriarchal power, but it does not have the power to make the one happy who is doing it. It certainly does not have the power to help others be happy, nor to help others be more than they could be ordinarily. And yet, as you enter any new age, you see, one of the things that's so important is for everyone to bring their focus together. Now, that will not happen across the board in any kind of a 100% ratio. what happens, of course, is that it seems like a good idea to help people. Now, that is an Aquarian ideal.